Hi there, hope you're enjoying the conference so far, and thanks to Ryan Yates for allowing me to present. Even though I can't attend live, I recorded this video for him. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. Um, Getting into a bit about myself, my name is Morten Mynster. Started my IT journey back in 2017 as an apprentice for 3 years, I believe. My primary working areas is PowerShell and some Python and Terraform, and then I also do some overlapping as well. Um, some of the projects I have been involved with or actually doing currently in my free time is a module called Actionable Messages, which is a way of sending adaptive cards within Outlook from PowerShell. Think of it a bit like creating a GUI or using WinUI to actually display an application directly on a user's PC, but instead of doing that, then doing the same in Outlook. I have listed a couple of links for some of the recent blog posts I made, and also a short description on what the module actually is in the README. I believe the README will be uploaded to the uh, conference's GitHub as well, so you can check it out there as well. Diving straight into it, let me just pull up a image of an adaptive card just so you're all aligned on what it is actually about. And I can see I need to zoom on my end. This is basically just the web Outlook, and this is an adaptive card or an actionable messages as it's called in Outlook. This specific card has been created with PowerShell code. It includes a title, it includes some facts. A fact is basically a hash table where you have a key and then a value for it. And then it has some links. The view details links will just open a new pane, a new URL, so to speak. And just to show this one, it's actually shown in the recent blog post I did on actionable messages, including some custom built commandlets that is just pre-made cards that is free to use, and you're welcome to give some feedback on them. Other than that, you actually also have some post requests that you can send directly from Outlook. So you could have a post request to, for example, try and restart a server where it runs some PowerShell code in the backend. Let's say it's a web server that needs restart from time to time, or needs the service restarted from one time or another. You can just click a button in Outlook. Also works on mobile and also works on the Outlook app on the desktop. And you could also include a link to acknowledge this alert, which could send a post request to your monitoring software, letting you or your team know that you actually have seen this message and you're going to work on it. Getting into the code, just for this one, we're importing the module actionable messages. For this one, I'm using Graph to actually send the message out to the endpoint. You could use other mail sending applications or backends to actually send the message. Then I have some predefined environmental variables which contains a originate ID. I'll show how to create this one in just a moment. Then I have a HTTP URL which will receive the post request that I'm sending to the given adaptive card that the user can then click on. I include my tenant ID just to connect to mggraph. And then just not to dox myself, I included an environmental variable to send to myself. If we load these up, and then the first step of creating an adaptive card is actually creating the AM card, so the container that you actually need to create. It would be the same in creating a GUI for your application on Windows. The first thing you need is a box to actually hold everything else. On this we can create a title. This is just a text box and it has a few different parameters, but let's just say a notification title is the text, it's large and it's bold. The next action is also a text box, and this one has an included parameter called wrap, which just means the text, if it's too long or it can't fit on the screen, it will just wrap the text onto multiple lines. Yeah, I think I just ran the parameter wrong. And finally we have the open URL action, which will just let you know that when you click a button in this adaptive card with the title view details, it'll just open this URL which links to this endpoint. And finally we need to add the action or the open URL to an action set. And the reason for this is because you can have multiple actions and they all need to be included in one gathered function, so to speak, which is an action set. Adding this, it is now added to the card, and the buttons on the adaptive card will always be at the bottom, so it doesn't matter in which order you actually add them. Finally, we'll add the other things we created up here to the card. So we are adding an element to the card we created, and in this instance the element is this text block and another text block, and then finally we are adding the action set as well to the card. And finally we can export the AM card, just specifying the card, providing a subject for the email address or the email that the user received, and the two recipients. Unfortunately, with adaptive cards, only one person can receive the adaptive card, and you can't send it to shared mailboxes. Kind of a limitation on the Microsoft end, but you can send the same adaptive card multiple times just to different users. So you could just throw it into a for each loop, and then your backend would have to handle when you have already received a response on this specific card. And then I have included a switch to create graph parameters, just to make it easy to actually send the adaptive card. And connecting to mtgraph, let me just see where the URL opened. Alright. And just to check the parameters that we have made with the export AM card email, we can see that it has the normal structure for sending out an email using msgraph. So in this instance, it's saving to the send items folder. And looking at the message, we have the two recipients block, we have the body, and we have our subject. And looking at the body, we have the content type of HTML, which just makes the card HTML instead of text. And looking at the content, we can see that we have a HTML block with a header. Then we have some metadata, which is required in regards to sending an adaptive card. And then we also have a script block, which is basically just a way for Outlook knowing that it has to load it as an adaptive card. Then we're setting the original body to be hidden, so it just shows the adaptive card and nothing else. Finally, if for some reason this adaptive card doesn't load, we also have a fallback message. So it could be that the given Outlook client that you're actually trying to view this adaptive card in, let's say you're using the default mail app on your Windows PC, it might not support adaptive cards. So if that is the case, this fallback text is shown instead. And let's just transcend this message. And let me just pull up the email just so we can see the adaptive card as well. And this is the adaptive card that we just created, running these few lines of code. It has the title, it has the text block, and then it has this link for viewing details. And the view details button opens this link, which is the latest blog I believe I made, showcasing some of the new built-in commandlets for the module. Right, getting into actually being able to send the adaptive card, we'll need an originator ID. To create this, we'll actually first off, in some instances there is a bug on this URL, so you might have to open Outlook first and going into your email. Once that is done, you can go to outlook.office.com/connectors/OAM, and then you can click on create a new provider. I won't show that because it might reveal some information on my organization, which I don't want to. So I've gone into publish and creating a new one. And within this block, I can give this provider a friendly name. I would highly suggest the friendly name that you give it, that it actually corresponds to a given service that you're actually trying to make. So let's just call this one conference. The provider ID originator will be displayed here right away, but it won't be active until you have actually saved this new request or new provider. The organization info will contain your tenant ID along with your tenant name. Then you can specify a sender email address, which is the one user that is actually sending these adaptive cards. This is to secure that even if you get the originator ID, you can't just send the email or adaptive cards from just any email. Further than that, you can specify some target URLs. I haven't actually figured out exactly what the limitations are in this regards. I know it supports regex, but in reality you could specify almost any API or URL that is supposed to receive the post request from Outlook. It just has to be HTTPS and not HTTP. Then you have a public key. I haven't made one, and I haven't had any requirements to actually have a public key in this one. You can also upload a logo. It's no way or regards required, but you could. Then you have your scopes for the submission, and if we're just testing the originator, I would highly suggest just using the test users and then providing a list of users separated by a semicolon down here, so you can actually send out the email from your sender email or the one sending the adaptive card, and only to these specific users. This has the added benefit of nobody actually needs to approve this since it's so limited. But if we say that we go to the organization pane instead, you can suddenly send out emails to your whole organization from the email that you actually specify up here. And yeah, works great. Unfortunately, well, it's kind of lucky, but a bit annoying if you're not an Exchange administrator or a global administrator, as one of these persons actually has to go in to the link listed here and actually approve this new publisher. I haven't had any requirements or need to use the global one, and as far as I can see from the documentation, this has been halted, but I believe if you reach out to Microsoft, then you might get something through there. And I believe with the global one, and in general with global, in my regards at least, will mean that you can send adaptive cards from your own tenant and to receiving parties. So let's say I want to send an email from consoso.com to the domain of Microsoft.com with the global originator, I would be able to do that, and also specify a link that their post request would be run to. But let's just for this presentation use test users. Then you just specify your email, accept the terms, click on save. Once that is done, then you have an originate ID which you can use to make the adaptive cards and send them out to people. Moving on to something more in the adaptive cards, not necessarily the same, but expanding a bit on our earlier example. Something you could use the adaptive cards for is collecting information or sending out an approval request. If we try and just run this one, and just give the email a moment to be received. In this instance, we have the title of the card. It's just a IT resource request, and then you could provide details about what you actually need. Let's say you need a printer and a projector and so on, for that matter. Now you have a submit request, which is a post request in the behind the scenes that sends a post request to a given API. It doesn't matter which API, it just has to be able to receive a post request. And by default, when doing this from Outlook, you're automatically authenticated. So if you need authentication on the API, which I would suggest, you can just validate the authentication which is sent along in the header. But just trying to submit this, we get an action completed. Notice that the adaptive card is not updated at all, so you could send multiple, which is probably not something you want. Going over to, let me just see here. Going on over to Logic Apps, which I have used with great pleasure for receiving requests from an adaptive card. You'll notice that these are the headers, and if we show the raw output instead, these are the headers that we received. In this instance, we didn't receive any body because we haven't specified any body that it needs to send along with this post request, but otherwise it would also have a body segment down here. Moving back to adaptive cards, then we can go ahead and try another one just to showcase one of the pre-built commands which is within the module. It's an application survey card or application usage survey card. In some instances, you might actually be interested in knowing if a given person in your organization that has a license from, for example, Adobe Photoshop, is actually using it and actually need this license. It could also be that you're looking for an alternative to a given software. But let's just stick with this one for now. Another small feature, if you're tired of waiting on emails to actually view it in the GUI, we also have a commandlet called show AM card preview, which just accepts the adaptive card that you created, and it displays the construction of this adaptive card directly in your terminal. So in this instance, we have the title, which is an application usage survey for Adobe Photoshop. It has a container called app details. Within this container, it has a fact set, which has application, Adobe Photoshop, version 2025, and so on. Then within the container still, notice the indentation. It has a text block, just some text about the IT department conducting a review of software licenses. So just a short message to give the user some information on what you're actually asking them to do. Then a question. which is no longer in the container app details, but just in the adaptive card itself, so in the root section of it, asking how often you use this. Then it has an input choice set, and within this input choice set it has a few different options. It could be daily, it could be several times per week, a few times per month, rarely, never, and so on. And you could build automation to actually handle these choice sets. So you could build a PowerShell script that just has a switch on these parameters. Then you could say what business functions do you use this application for. Then it has an input text field where the user can actually type what they're using it for. Then you could also include a text block just out of curiosity to ask which features of this application you actually use. This could be useful if you're trying to find an alternative for this application. Then you could ask how important the given application is to their daily work, where it contains an input choice set. It could be critical, important, useful, optional, unnecessary. And if you're conducting a review or looking for an alternative, something nice would also be to know if the user is actually aware of an alternative for this application. In my instance at least, I believe that most of the IT people actually in most cases at least never knows how to operate a given application or software, but they can happily support it based on some knowledge articles or some information provided by the provider. And here you can have a input choice set as well, saying yes, no, yeah, not sure. And if they type yes, then let's just ask them straight away what are they called. Then you could also ask the given user you're sending this to actually list if anyone in their team actually uses this application. Can be useful if there's only one person in the company actually using this, then yeah, not really sure that you should pay the license fee for that, unless it's business critical, of course. And if they have any suggestions, we could also ask for this. Going back to the adaptive card, let's just try and send this one as well, just so you can see it in the GUI as well. Mm-hmm. Outlook seems a bit slow today. And just to show the card, it has the title, it has the container, which is ambient in the background here. It has the fact set, it has the short message, letting the user know what you're actually asking of them. Then we have our chase set, what business application they need for it. And let's just try and fill this out. So we are actually getting a body as well and submitting this survey. I can see it returned a 400. So let me just have a look at that. I actually think it might be a bug with the commandlet, so I'll have to look at that after the conference. Might be a new release afterwards. Let's just move on for now. Moving on to something that could also be interesting is having your alerts and being able to react to them directly from Outlook. So let's say you're using Zabbix or Scum or some other monitoring software. You could build into the automation for the alerts that it's going to start some PowerShell to send out an adaptive card. And let's just try and create it and send it and see what happens. Let's see if this one works better or it's the same. For this one, we have the server is offline, some server name. It doesn't have a lot of information in this specific card, but you could include as much as information as you would like to. With the built-in command, you don't necessarily have a lot of information, but if you create your own cards, then you'll probably have more information as well to actually supply the card with more information. For this one, we have a view details, which just opens a URL. We have a restart server button, which is just a post request. Could be to start up some automation, and it's up to you what this button is called, or what it does, or which endpoint it hits. It's all defined in the code. It has some default setup, so you don't have to, but for the endpoints, you'll always want to update those. Then we could also include an acknowledge button to actually post a request to the monitoring software, letting other team members know that you're actually working on this one. You have taken ownership of it. Let's just see, and this one completed successful, of course. So I believe it's either a mistake on my part for the previous card or a mistake in the code, which I might have to look at. And going over to the adaptive card again. Looking at the raw output, you can see we now have a header, and we also have a body, and this body can be pretty dynamic. So if, for example, in the application survey report, you could include the given inputs to this post request, so it doesn't have to be static endpoints or data in your body. You could include it on the go. In this instance, we have a server parameter, which is just the server name. Then we have the action, and again, you could make a drop down selecting from a set of predefined actions. So it could be restart server, restart service. If it were a server running out of space, you could also just say expand 10 gigabytes. The sky's the limit. You just have to have the imagination to create these cards. Going back to the code again, let's just do some exploration as well. A neat little feature I at least tried to include on the module is sometimes it can be hard to programmatically create these adaptive cards, as you need to have a picture of how you want it to look and how you want it to be structured. So what I created instead is, let me just pull up the link for it. If you go to amdesigner.azurewebsites.net, you have some predefined cards here. You can also create your own blank card, and within this one you have a set of options that you could include. Let's just stick with the example I have. So for this one, we have the card JSON, pulling this up and just pasting the JSON within here. We can see what the card actually contains. We also have a preview button that lets you know how it will look in Outlook once you send it. You'll also have a small picture of how it would look on mobile, as it is supported on most mobile devices. I know it works on Android and iOS. Not sure if any other mobile phone providers. I believe as long as they have Outlook installed, it will work. I haven't tested it on something like Gmail, so if you're using that or some other app on your phone, it might not work for you. But getting back to the code, we can say if we just wanted to save a JSON file with the actual card, we could do that, and then just get content from this card in raw format. And then we have a command called convert from AMJSON, actionable messages JSON, and then just providing it with JSON. Doing that, and then printing the card variable will actually get all of the code needed to create this exact card. Bum, 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 bum. And the variable names is generated by the thing you're creating. So, for example, a container, and then along with the ID that is specified. If that name for some reason is not available to us, it'll just auto-generate something else for the available name, just to not mess up the code for you. And then you have your originator ID, which you'll have to replace yourself. It doesn't matter if you specified it within the portal. The backend code will always just write replace with your originator code. But this is basically just a nice way to get started with actionable messages. You might want to clean up the variable names just because they are pretty ugly, in my opinion at least. But basically this card contains a container, which is, or rather, let's start from the top. It creates the card, then we create a container, then we add this container to the card, then we create a text block, then we add the text block to the card. The reason I have done it like this, so you can actually build all of your elements beforehand or include it in a function, and then input them into the card like you want them. This is also bound up on ID, so you, even if we move this command down here, the text block will still be in the same place because of the ID and the container that it is contained within. Then we create another container and add it to the card, and so on and so on. Let's just move on to something that is a bit more interesting. For columns, you can create a column which has multiple. Let's think about it as in Excel. You have column A, column B, column C, column D, and so on and so on. I'm actually not sure if there's a limit on how many columns you can have, but you have to think about it in the GUI as well. So it doesn't make sense to have 100 columns because there's no way anyone is able to see that. So no reason to do it. But basically, our first column, column 0, we create a column which contains an image. In this case, it's from the AM Designer website, some guy called Carlos Slattery. The alternative text is Rob Young Avatar, so if for some reason or actually if your Outlook is set up to not preload or download images within your email client, then by default it will just have this alternative text. Then we have the second column, column 1, which just contains some text, in this instance a text block, or rather 2 text blocks, which is wrap enabled. Then we have the column set, which is a combination of the 2 columns, putting them into a column set. So think of the column set and action set as container of their own. And then we finally add the container set to the adaptive card. And this goes on for a couple of times because the adaptive card I showed contained multiple messages. It could be from Teams, it could be from Outlook, it could be from some other software you might use to host your conversations. So it's just a nice way to move that from one place to another in Outlook. Let's just see here. Finally, we have also the toggle visibility action, which lets you by default hide the given elements beforehand, and then when you click a button, then it shows the other elements as well. We also have a action set, which is the button to, or it contains the button to expand the visibility. And finally, we have a detailed card, because within an adaptive card, you can contain an adaptive card. I haven't figured out a way completely to handle this nested functionality. So currently it's just outputted as JSON. This is accepted as well. And when you send the email, it's also converted to JSON beforehand, so it doesn't really matter. Then we have a show card action, which just shows the adaptive card up here. We have another toggle visibility, not much interesting there. Then finally we have 2 columns as well, which is just to show the latest message in that specific adaptive card. And if we just run this code, and finally display the card JSON. This is how the complete JSON structure is for the adaptive card that is going to be sent out to email. And if we wanted to send it in an email, and Visual Studio Code or Copilot is very nice for me. Basically export AM card for email, supplying it with the card, supplying it with a subject. This could be the conversation history, and sending it to recipients where my environmental variable. And then it also included the create graph parameters. If you wanted to send it using another mail provider that isn't MSGraph, you could. Then just remove the create graph parameters, and let's just have a look at how it would look. Then you only get the body for the email, so only the HTML body. So that is also a bit about what the switch for create graph parameters does. It just organizes it to easily send it using Microsoft Graph. Bum, 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 bum. And then we can just send the email along. And I haven't updated anything on this specific adaptive card, so none of the URLs or buttons will actually work on this adaptive card. But the logos or avatars or images or whatever you want to call it will work, because they point on the what is that called? The images hosted on the website that we saw before. Seems like something messed up. Has the notification, mentions I've been measured in a conversation, and I'm not sure if there's a bug in the module. I think there might be, because the view conversation history actually collapses it. This part should be hidden by default, and then that button should show it. It seems like it has a small bug as well. But going into the card, we have a link to go to the conversation. It could be a direct link to open the application in a web browser or something. You could also reply to the conversation, typing some message here, and then just pressing submit, and then it will make a post request to a given endpoint with the authorization header from Outlook. So if you're using that, then it should just be able to post right away. Yeah, and if you have any questions in regards to the module and in regards to getting started, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. The name on Discord is Morten Mynster, but it's probably easy to get a hold of me on LinkedIn. So just go to the README and then click on the LinkedIn link and then shoot me a message. I have an open profile, so anything is welcome. Um, moving on to a second card, just to show it again. Again, we just have the JSON body. And for this one, it's just a short satisfaction survey where you have the possibility, let's just preview it. Select a rating, 1 to 5. Select some choice set. Give a text input. Have a date time picker. So let's say you wanted it to do it right here. You can also include a time input. Unfortunately, at least as the support is currently, it is only supported in, I believe, webmails and not in Outlook. So yeah, if you want the expanded functionality, you'll have to compromise on which endpoint you're actually using, which is also a great segue to actually mention that you should definitely test the cards before you send it out to your whole organization. Test the whole flow, test that you're getting the actual correct body with you when a user is clicking submit before you send it out and then have to apologize because we have to send it out again because we made a mistake. You could also have a multi-choice set of options and then just click on submit and then it'll shoot a post request. And just to show this one off as well, it should be fairly quick. Just have to update this. And I gotta say, I love Copilot. And see, we ran into another bug on the is multi select. For this one, we just have to type true. So yeah, the conversion part of the module is a bit finicky, but I gotta say it's quite hard to actually convert JSON to your specific commands and adapting them to the module. I at least had a hard time doing it, so the experience may vary a bit on the conversion part, so I would definitely suggest use it to start out with, get the baseline, and then just configure it along the way. Use the show AM preview card. Let's just have a look at it again. To show you how the actual card is constructed. So for this one we have a container. Within that container we have a column set, which is just an event feedback box. Then we have a new container, which contains a text block. A new container again with the first question and the actually seems like all the questions. So a text block, an input choice set, which has the title, how likely is it, yada yada yada, and then the choices you can select. Question 2, and so on. So I still have to work out a few kinks on the show AM card preview, but overall it's pretty well constructed, so you should be able to view the card pretty easily. Again, if you find any bugs, I'm more than welcome to have a look at it. And also submit an issue on the GitHub page to let me know that I have made a mistake or need to fix something. I'm more than happy to. And also, if you have any contributions to the module. I'm also welcoming those. Um, so any feedback, good or bad, is welcome. And taking a look at this specific card, and let me just pull up the cards side by side. I just need the JSON once again. So looking at these, it has the event feedback. The picture is a bit big and seems like it should have been up in this container. So again, the conversion is a bit screwy. But otherwise, I can see this is a multi-select, so that would have to be fixed as well. As in this one, it's a drop down. And this one is a multi-select, so I should probably have set it to false. So it had radio buttons instead of multi-select. And then we have our text block, our date picker. You can set it to be default for today if you wanted to. I think actually I included in the code so it would default to the day, to today's date, just to make it easy for the user to see what they're actually expecting. And I know the month, date, year is easy as well, but I mean, might as well. Then we have the final block and a submit button, which will again just post a post request. I think that is all I had for now. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you can find some use cases that I haven't seen myself, and would be lovely to get some more people using it and also providing feedback. And the module is available on the PowerShell gallery. Actionable messages. I just released a new version, but yeah, didn't test it good enough as we had some errors on the presentation. But nonetheless, have a great conference.